Hello, beautiful bastards, and welcome back to Mountain Goat Gaming. It's been a hot minute, but your special friend's back. My name is Jay, and join with me is the lovely Tyler. Today, we're here to bring forward the faction focus of the Hall of Thranduil. God, that was hard to say. What we're trying to do with this series is once a month just hit a new faction that we won't be covering in the meta breakers that we still think has legs, or maybe doesn't have legs, and we'd like to try and give you guys a bit of our thoughts on how to make it work. So yeah, I'm excited for it. And if you have any suggestions, please don't forget to leave it in the comments or jump onto the Discord and let us know. We're always happy to take on as much as we possibly can. And in saying that, please make sure you do jump onto Discord and share some of the photos of your armies. I'll typically put out like a post, and thank you to the people who actually did put their Halls of Thranduils up, and they're included. Like, share, subscribe, hit all the bell buttons, and don't forget to use code GOATS when shopping at the Bard's Table. Massive support we've received, and honestly, with Christmas rolling through, I just appreciate people still using that code. It makes me feel somewhat relevant. So Tyler, talk to me about what's happening next. You've got some exciting things.
So, in the new year, I am I'm hoping to really focus on battle reports. So I'm actually hopeful to get some more competitive focused battle reports. It is going to be a trialing process, so do bear with us when we are putting out these bat reps. They may be long. There may be some things that we need to change. We always love feedback, so give it to us. Got no issues with that. Alex and myself will be focusing on a lot of the meta breakers videos that will be coming out. In addition to that, Sean's focus will be a lot of more so very casual tier lists, hot takes, that sort of vibe, very chill. Also trying to just bring other communities and heads of their communities and or channels onto our videos. And then lastly is going to be, we did this old series where we did the whole faction deep dives, profiles, and strategies. So we're hoping once a month we do one or two factions that are just a couple of little small videos, not trying to go too heavy into like an hour to an hour and a half long session, but trying to at least provide you with some understanding of where our thoughts are with certain lists, how to construct them, and go from there.
I think the audience for these type of videos is going to be newer players to veteran players who are just looking to potentially return to the game or have been playing the game for a while and just want to sharpen the blade a little bit. So I think it kind of leads a nice little segue into collecting the army. Obviously, Bard's Table, I think, are the best and most affordable way to purchase this army if you're in Australia. Otherwise, jump onto an Etsy store or find a 3D printer who has a merchant license. I personally am a massive fan of the unreleased miniatures range. I think in terms of Halls of Thranduils, they are fantastic. They are well scaled, and they do not have the shitty poses that the Games Workshop Halls of Thranduils ones do. Not to mention, if you go and purchase them, you'll be cleaning up Finecast for hours and hours. However, in terms of collecting this army, I do think it is one of the most aesthetically pleasing armies if you put the time into it. Like it's not an army you can kind of just bang out in a night and have it look really nice because of the detail on the shields, the golden trim, Thranduil and his elk, like
the mixture of the cloth and then the actual heavy armor that's associated with some of these guys. It's like it's kind of like intertwined within their actual chest and legs and things. So it is very different from your typical look of like the Rivendell elves. It's like they just have armor, cloth at the very bottom, and then go from there. So
I've literally put them side by side here. So this is typically like a Rivendell captain proxy from unreleased miniatures, and you compare the difference from, say, this guy here to these typical wood elves who you'd expect to be painting roughly between 20 to 30 for a full Halls of Thranduil army with options, right? And just the detail, even on the helms, like the little leaf prints that they have in there, it's impressive. It looks fantastic, but my God, just be wary. It is a choose your own journey in terms of hobby adventure. I think is the best way to say it.
Yep.
All right, let's jump straight into the actual the biggies of this list.
Yep. So you basically get 2 army bonus. Number 1, friendly warrior models treat your general as a banner. And in addition to that, friendly warrior models within 3 inches of Thranduil get +1 to wound when making strikes. And it's only for the warriors for both of these army bonuses. So the heroes do not get any benefits for +1 to wound or even the banner effects. Somehow Thranduil ain't in range of himself. So just understand that when you're considering trying to win fights.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the last addition to this edition, it doesn't feel like there's been a whole lot of change. Halls of Thranduil have lived and died by Thranduil surviving or dying, right? And it's no different. He's coming in at a fight like move 6, fight 7, strength 4, defense 4, but he can take 3 attacks, 3 wounds, and a 3/3/3 profile. He does have his Elven Hand and Half Weapon. He's got Expert Rider. He's got Woodland Creature, Blade Lord, Fury of the Elven King, and Do Not Talk to Me of Dragon Fire. His heroic actions are Heroic Resolve, Heroic Strength, and Strike. So he has lost the option, which he could have last edition, to take a horse. He can now, the only mount he can take for, I think, is it 20 or 30 points?
30 points.
30 points is the beautiful elk.
Yep.
Now, the change with the elk this edition is that it now has a single strength 4 impact hit when charging.
Yep.
50 mil base. 50 mil base?
Yep, 50 mil.
And this hurts. It hurts my heart. The reason why it hurts my heart is because like the model, I think, is one of the best that GW had ever produced. Full stop in terms of full of SPG range, right? However, I am never taking him like on elk ever. Unless, when I'm trying to win a tournament or trying to do well with this list, he's never on an elk, right? Why is that, Tyler?
I think it's just the fact that obviously the big size base is a nuisance, and you feel like you have to actually buy back your points even more so when he's on the elk, and especially when you want to keep him at the center of your army. It's like, okay, there's times where he's going to get bogged down. The bigger base is going to allow for more heroes, more troops to get into him and just wreak havoc in general. And he doesn't, as we said, doesn't have the banner. So it's 3 dice when he doesn't charge and 4 when he does. And you're at the mercy of the dice. Yes, you have 3 might to try and mitigate that to a degree, but you're typically just trying to save that might for either heroic moves or winning fights in general. Because he is D6. So if he fluffs, a lot of strength 4 heroes, strength 4 troops are putting wounds semi-consistently. So definitely, whilst I love the idea of the elk, it's just, and I love the look, I'm going to be taking the elk because I just love the model more than anything, and I just want to see it on the actual table. So, yeah.
It's nice. They linked in his previous crown into the profile this edition, which is the Do Not Talk to Me of Dragonfire active rule. So at the beginning of S activation, Thranduil can spend a will point to use this special rule. If he does, then until the end of the turn, Thranduil has the Terror special rule. Additionally, if Thranduil has the infantry keyword, then he uses this special rule. Then each enemy model within 3 inches of him that is not engaged in combat must take a courage test in order chosen by the Thranduil's controlling player. If the test is failed, they must immediately move directly away from Thranduil as far as they can, up to the limit of their move value. So, cheeky, I think is the best way to describe that.
It's
Game
cute.
breaking? No, I don't think it's revolutionary because you can't actually affect any of the courage stuff. Like it's nice. You know what? Like it could be a clutch. Are you going to rely on this in a tournament? No. It's nice.
It's cute. It's very situational. I wish that this rule was almost like the Crown of Morgul for the Witch King, where it negates bodyguard or fearless armies, and then you're like, now you have to take courage checks. The fact that he doesn't have base terror and he's having to expend will points when in theory you're trying to get him to actually churn through troops, especially if you're against a lot of meta lists right now that may have magic, Saruman being a prime example. He is just sitting there doing absolutely nothing and getting bullied by Saruman. And you're telling me now I have to expend a will point just to give him base terror and then try to do this dragon fire cute thing. And it's the fact that it's only directly away. It's not like you get to control the movement. Somehow we have these sentinels and so on and so forth that are able to do a variety of different things and move models in the way that we want to. But his is like, oh, it's directly away. And then you're just like,
yeah,
I can, but what if there's no space? I kind of
Yeah.
want to, if Barge can do compels
all that shit.
all that weird, funky movement, I would prefer for Thranduil's special rule to be able to do that as well.
I agree.
Fury of the Elven King is fantastic, though. I love the idea of trying to give this man some sort of tempo and momentum. It's not going to happen often, but man, it is good. Him having Elven hand and a half weapons means he can two-hand still, which is fantastic.
Put all the pieces together for me in terms of, like, for the players who don't know what these special rules do. Hand and a half weapon with the potential Blade Lord and the Fury of the Elven King. What's the max that this guy can put out? Realistically?
If you don't put, he's max killing like 2 to 3 dudes a turn if he has the heroic combat from the previous turn. But obviously the Blade Lord is only, and it's like has to meet certain criteria. So it's if he is outnumbered, he may reroll wound rolls of a natural 1. However, if he's infantry and is outnumbered, he just gets Bane of King's base. So he just rerolls all failed to wound rolls. If he's on Elk, he just rerolls ones.
Yeah.
Then you have the other bit of it where he can, if he kills all the enemy models that he was engaged with in the previous turn, he then gets to declare free heroic combat. So it's something that's really niche. You have to keep track of. You have to try and crunch through. But to be fair, two-handing two-handing with strength 4 against 2 guys, you're feeling comfortable. 4s to wound most D6 things. D4 to D5, it's the same process. 3s or 4s to wound. You can reliably do that against non-magic heavy armies. I think you can reliably try and churn through 2 to 3 guys a turn if you have
100%.
that tempo. So.
I think if you have that tempo as well, Thranduil's a really easy guy to get greedy with because you want to, like, kill your 2, get your combat, potentially spending the might point early on to get the 2 and start making that combat. But if your momentum, like if momentum is on your side and you keep priority, that's fantastic. You can so quickly keep jumping. But then Thranduil all of a sudden is outnumbered. Correct me if I'm wrong. Last edition, he had the old school blade.
Like he had what Tariel has. Blade Lord was adding dice, so he would get a shit ton of dice and go from there, which was fantastic. And I think I kind of wish that they kept it that way.
Well, it made it really hard to swamp him because if you swamped him, you're just increasing his chances of getting a 6 right. Now it's more of a chance of you can just actually like throw one in. I'm not saying that Thranduil needed both, but the best of both worlds potentially, I would prefer to have more attacks rather than sitting here being like, cool, if I meet X, Y, Z criteria,
did I proc?
Exactly. I can do that. Yeah. Now, the next thing we need to focus on is what's the trick? How does For the Thranduil work? Because by no stretch of the measure, like when we saw the Moria meta kick in and everyone started to really take dragons and lean into that sort of stuff, we saw in the tabletop, I was talking to Alex in this, like the tabletop simulator community, they all jumped to Eld, and there was this massive tournament a couple of months ago, team tournament, and I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but like maybe 60% of teams had a Hall to Thranduil list, or at the very least an elf list. Hall to Thranduil definitely makes it into the top 10, I would say, quite comfortably. Bear in mind they don't get points for banner. Thranduil is not this crazy, insane dude, but still can work. What the fuck's making this list? What's making it sing?
I think it's actually if I'm being quite frank, so 750 and below, this list is actually really good because you actually get a good quality model cap for what you take. I think it does get awkward at some points though, because you have to pick the paradigm of whether or not you only take 2 heroes or you splash into 3 but lose the model count a bit. I think it just has a variety of tools to really threaten a lot of armies in general, and be able to really play a variety of different styles. If you're going up against a shoot heavy list, you're basically keeping a lot of your armored guys back. And if you have any sort of Rangers or Mirkwood, Tariel, Legolas as well, you are just trying to abuse the amount of bows that you have in that sense, and really just trying to force your opponent to have to sort of come to you in a lot of games. I think it also, against like some of the like dragon lists, the strength 3 bows with 2 heroes that have might behind their shots can consistently put pressure. Not saying it's any way automatic win, because when those dragons get into range, now it's very threatening with that breathe fire. But you have roughly 2 turns, potentially 1 turn, to really go, yep, cool, we're just putting every single shot into that dragon, trying to make it burn resources, and then as soon as it gets within 12-inch range, you're like, cool, I'm gonna take a step back and use my Elven Cloaks to obscure me and still continue trying to pummel shots into Dragon List. Army of the White Hand, I think it just clears off a lot of the from D3 Wildman to D5 Urukai being the highest things that you'll really see within the actual list. It can try and clear.
Nice.
Yep, right. So hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s or 5s, you're reliably killing a lot of their army prior to getting there. Obviously, the Crebain turning off Elven Cloaks and things is a nuisance, but I think you have glaives that can help mitigate the fluffs of your heroes. So it means when those Crebain come in, you can reliably actually use 2 glaives and a hero and feel comfortable that you're at least going to do like 2 to 3 wounds on these Crebain semi-consistently. It just has so many sort of different paradigms that it can really play, and it can play into a variety of different lists just because of the shooting pressure it has, as well as the combat potential. It's like it plays similar to what I felt like Harad did last edition. It was like, I'm a shooting army. Cool. Now you're engaged with me. Now I actually wound you reasonably well within a bubble, and I try and utilize my other tools to try and mitigate how much you're killing me on the crackback.
So I'm just going to backfill a little bit of what Tyler said in terms of like why these rules are working and help kind of patch holes within the army. Let's start off with the fact that they have access to Legolas, Tariel, Palace Guard, Palace Captain, and regular Ranger Captain. Truth be told, Rangers of Mirkwood, I think, are dog shit in this army, and I don't recommend you take them because they are too many points for what you're getting. If you want to play Rangers of Mirkwood, go play the separate Legendary Legion. Don't play Hall of Thranduil. Your typical Mirkwood elves have 3 options. They can take an Elven Glaive, a bow, or just a plain Jane shield. Now, the glaives are 2 points. However, it's an Elven spear that additionally, if they're engaged and not being supported, so it's just like a one-on-one situation, they have 2 different options. They can get a bonus +1 to their attacks for their dual roll only, or they get +1 attacks when making strikes. So like what Tyler said, if you're going into Crebain, well, why would you not potentially, you've got the higher fight, outnumbering them, like character and glaive or whatever, just go for it, right? The only thing I'm a little bit concerned about is the fact that they're not being supported means that you can't dogpile onto it. So it's a bit risky. However, opt for the additional strike, there's a chance for you to do some decent points there, right?
Yeah.
You do have a relatively fragile line. All the elves without a shield are D5, but you still have your elven shooting. Legolas is still fantastic. Tariel is typically the make or break into or out of the list. Why I say that is because if you're going at like 600 below, I don't think she has a place on the list. It's just dad and son, and they're just going to run as many troops as they possibly can. The Mirkwood Knights that you get, they have woodland creatures, so they can just go running through the forest and not really care about that. They're very fast. They are your only mobility in the list, so typically taking 1, but 2 is always nice. They're like your little golden nuggets. And finally, your Palace Guard are your babies. Palace Guard are the guys who can get up to the fight 6, and they've got options to take shield. Personally, the only option I see is a shield and spear, because then they can play multiple roles. They've got bodyguard, they've got woodland creature themselves, and they have that elven hand and a half weapon too. So, but they get to fight 6. So, feasibly 6 to 8 Palace Guard is definitely where I think the list starts to shine. 4 to 6 glaives, you're starting to feel nice. And the way that the glaives work is the glaives aren't your spear. This list doesn't really play that whole front to back. The list, your glaives are kind of sitting on the edge of your battle lines. With anyone who wants to kind of envelop you on the sides, your glaives are sitting there relying on that fight 5 pressure to be like, hey, I'm actually shielding while still being able to hit you and move forward from there. So it's worth noting that one model, like one enemy model with a glaive and another dude will still proc the glaive. If you go a glaive with a spear support Palace Guard, it's the glaive, you're wasting points. So the tricks and the feel of this army is all together being one army. And then finally, you've got all the good shit that is Wood Elf Sentinel gives you within this army. 2 Sentinels, you'll never feel bad for running them. They've got their 3 songs, they've got the Elven Cloak, they've still got their Strength 3 bow.
Yep, still 2 attacks, pretty decent. I think also to mention the Mirkwood Cavalry are actually fantastic for their points, especially when paired with Thranduil. Yep. The fact that they go up now within 6 inches, because it used to be they had a banner effect from him within 6. Sure. Now it's fight 6, D6, whilst within 6 inches. And that's pretty nice. Like, that's actually pretty reasonable for a 16-point cavalry model. It's pretty insane. But yeah, this list just, I feel the elves themselves are value in a variety of different ways, with the exception as you said, Jay, the low defense.
Yeah,
which makes it seem.
But you know what? You're aware of it and you know what to do. I think now the way that we're going to summarize this army is playing traffic lights. So we're going to talk about the green matchups, the yellow matchups, and the red matchups. I don't want to go through every single list. We're just going to kind of group together. And when we talk about kind of the let's call them orange to red matchups, why are there any plays, or is it just a case of let the gods roll 6s for you? Green matches. What do you think is an easy dub for this army?
An easy dub. That is very, very interesting. I mean, like, it's saying it's just an easy dub is very, very hard. In my opinion, I think anything that has lesser fight value that plays very similar in a sense. I'd say like your Ministerists, I'd say your Fiefdoms even. I'd say, I mean, your Army of Thror is obviously a bad army. If I had to say stuff in the meta, it's just so hard. Because like there isn't, I feel like, any real easy matchups. I just think it's solid all around into however like a huge amount of the meta. Like you don't feel like you auto lose against a lot of lists. Because like I would have thought, oh well, the higher fight value against like typical dwarves, like Iron Hills dwarves or Battle 5 armies and stuff would be fine, or even an Army of Erebor. I would have been like, if you had asked me like earlier this edition, I would have been like, oh, Halls of Thranduil and Army of Erebor, fine. And then I'm like, wait, Army of Erebor absolutely slaps. This army hates high defense armies a lot of the time, because if you don't have that +1 to wound bubble and you are D6 and above, you are crying inside unless you're reliably two-handing. So yeah, any armies that are like D5, D4, like if it's genuinely like your let's even go like usurpers as an example. Let's go with like Ugluk scouts. If you have quality terrain and are able to play within choke points and prevent envelopments from these high model count armies, and you are just clogging up a couple of chokes, this army is living its wet dreams in an essence. So yeah, some of those low defense armies like Ugluk Scouts, Army of Karn Doom, anything with any Dunlendings whatsoever. Yeah, I'd say it comfortably has a reliable chance of killing a lot of models within that game.
Yeah. I will say in terms of like the Army of Erebor and the Dwarf matchup too, two-handing with the banner getting +2 to wound is your only shot, and I feel like in that matchup you're just absolutely sending it because you have to. Otherwise, you're just going to be standing there forever. Like
Bouncing.
You've got the 5 value, you've got the people behind you. Roll as many dice in. Use your movement to the best of your abilities. Potentially a march, dare I say, might help, but
march over agents, right?
Yellow matches. I was thinking about this before. I feel like a really clear yellow match in my mind is Dale. Whilst on paper, Dale has a lot of 5 value. Dale is D6. We do kill them very easily. Dale has just bodies, and consistently, Dale is just a stat check gatekeeper army that I feel like can go either way, depending on, I would say more so board rather than mission, because I think overall on paper, I'd favour the Hall of Thranduil army over the Dale army.
That's valid. I definitely would agree with that one. I think even like Bjornings, I think the Halls of Thranduil really struggles with, because none of their heroes want to touch a bear whatsoever. And if you're just current, like any sort of monster list that allows the sort of typical battle line to be broken is no bueno. So I'd say like yellow, I'd say like Bjornings. Obviously the fight value is the same. But you still have the Elven Blade, so you're meant to be winning a lot more fights. It's just can your hero stall the bears or get wounds on them? Because now Thranduil not having heroic defense anymore, it means if he's going into the bear, and whether it's a fight 7 or fight 8, it's like he has no banner. You're at the mercy of the dice. If you roll low and you lose to that bear, it's like, cool, I 3s to wound you. Fantastic. You're not D7. So it's definitely a very different aspect. Even like what else was I thinking? Like Crebain lists, like genuinely like Army of the White Hand is actually very terrifying, just because of the fact that they have so many dudes and they have so many tricks.
Would you say that's a yellow, or would you say that's a red?
No, I'd say it's like I'd say it's a yellow.
Tankerbane, 5 characters. You know the list.
It's not that many. Like it's 3 characters. It's 3 characters and up to like 8 Crebain. Like let's think about like 750. It's like 7 or 8 Crebain. 3 characters. You have probably Saruman, Goroth, Oathmaker, or you're coming in with Vrashku. It's not as much as you think in terms of pressure. It's the fact that they take models off the board with lightning. And then obviously the movement's hindered and so on and so forth. But once you actually get into those Dunlendings, Uruk-hai, etc., you are actually mincing through. Legolas is also removing models with his shooting. The only thing to keep in mind is just the Crebain itself. They're probably the hindrance, and that's where it starts leaning into that red. But I'd still say yellow. If you can play it well, play in a tight bubble, play in an anti sort of fly formation as best you can. Obviously, Crebain are just a nuisance, and there's so many of them. But yeah, go from there.
Yeah, that's fair. Red matchups. I don't think there's really a whole lot to talk about in terms of Moria. I think Moria is just like you've got to play it. Like you've just got to, if you're wanting to do well at a tournament, you've got to practice playing that list again and again. Balrog and Dragons, because it's just shit. Like fucking hell, you're not playing SBG. You're just playing Dragons, right? However, I do think this list is really good at picking a paradigm of killing the troops and absolutely spending nearly every single resource you can for 2 to 3 turns and seeing if you can break them quick enough or break or corner them quick enough for it to matter. I think of like the Balrog or even the Bjornings matchup, I think is a really good one to compare it to as well. Same as Blackgate's Open. Like you don't see it a whole lot, but fuck me dead, if they've got 2 of those Warlord Troll Chieftains on top of all the Morannons, like you've got to deal with that. Do you potentially like sit and risk your squishy characters into those Strength
Huge.
8, fight 8, fight
Defense
10.
8.
You're not
And
going to
there's
do that shit, are you? Like, why bother? Play smart, wrap your characters in. If Thranduil can get on a roll, he's going to get on a roll with goblins, more like D6 Moranans and D5 Bjornings. Like, he can do it.
Yeah.
But sorry, D4. But like
Yep.
he needs to be aware of how much he can do and when's enough, holding the might for the moves, because they are relatively limited in their might, as are you. And I do think Legolas is clutch in that situation.
Yeah. I think the list as a whole, red matchups for me in my mind are just big heroes in general. A lot of bitches fight 7+ heroes, whether they're monsters or they're like, for me, that comes to mind anytime this list goes into like a battle of Fornost.
Yeah, or Men of the
And
West.
you go, or Men of the West with an Aragon, like some of these big heroes that then also have Horse Lord, and you're like, oh, so you have the one thing that's allowing you to keep your horse. Shit, okay. Even a Riders of Theoden going into this, it's like, cool, you have Thranduil, that's cute. But what if I do the initial death turn to go 4 strikes and go, cool, I've just cleared off 8 models that turn, guaranteed. And then we'll call a move and we'll see how many models that you have. If I get a cav charge that's potentially of just have, especially if you're playing Thranduil real reactive in the back lines, it's like you give them an optimal charge of taking off like 8 models that turn outside of just the warriors being in the fight. That's just basic heroes that are just going, cool, 3 strikes this turn, and I still have a banner, and I still have might to manipulate the dice rolls, and you're taking off models, and Legolas cannot shoot out these horses reliably, considering they all have Horse Lord and Fate to mitigate it. You have anything that just has a big jerky hero is not I don't think this list is a real big fan of. Even Dane into this is like a mounted warboard Dane. You're just like, oh, yep, that's great. I mean, it's definitely has its red matchups throughout this current meta anyway. So
for sure, I think the big ones to watch out for in terms of what we're seeing at the moment: Men of the West, Battle of Fornost, Balrog, Dragons. I think they make up the large majority of those red matchups. The Dane, the Rise of Théoden, I'm placing into a yellow. Yes, they are a problem. You know the problem. However, you know, and you do have the tools to deal with that problem. I'm not going to say easily, but you've got to know what the hell you're doing. Unfortunately, with those red matchups, it's really a case of Men of the West have the same Legolas as what you do, plus they've got Aragorn and the might advantage and the D7 on. Like it starts to stack. Battle of Fornos, we can say the same shit as well.
Radagast Alliance,
even So by no stretch of the measure do I want to finish this video in terms of like, hey, it's fantastic and we think it's really good. Oh, but it's got this, and this. You do have the tools to beat it. You do have the tools to work with it. I do just think this is an army that you have to work at and know the threshold really well. Otherwise, it can feel quite disheartening really quickly. So we'll finish off with the concluding thoughts. Definitely sink your teeth into this army. I do think it's really quite rewarding, both in terms of hobby aspects and gaming aspects. I do think that this is a really good contending list for 5-1, 4-1, with the potential to potentially take out a decent tournament. However, it is unfortunately a bit matchup dependent on what run it's going to have. What do you reckon?
I think it's kind of, as I said before, it's a fantastic army to feel like you're kind of in the majority of your games. You're not out of it. It's not like what we're finding with this current edition where we're rocking up to the table and we're like, gosh, I'm just already losing, or I feel like I'm already going to lose. This list has like ways of going, cool, I'm going to pick this paradigm, even against my non-optimal matchup, and give it my best crack. The army itself, you have I think 2 mid-tier heroes that I think are up there in contention. Like Legolas, I think he's the best mid-tier, mid-points hero in the game at the moment. And I think Tariel is a very big sleeper pick. She still has extra shot, still has Blade Mistress. Somehow she retained that, but Thranduil's Blade lore got changed. whatever. But she's a menace, going up, like having the ability to go up to 4 attacks on a 95-point model is crazy. We already look at Gloin and go, whoa, this guy's amazing. Hario going, cool, I get 4 dice if I go into 2, but if you trap me, fantastic, I go up to like potentially like 6 to 7 dice.
Yep.
And you're just like, I don't know if I really want to surround her. I guess it's just spear supports. But yeah, I think it just has a lot of niche little things within the army that you'll have to adjust to, but it's you're gonna feel like you're in every game, and you gotta go from there.
Fantastic. All right, that's it. Let us know what you think, and if you would like us to add anything else into these videos, don't forget to leave a comment. Otherwise, from me, from Tyler, have a lovely night.